So today's project is going to be changing out this heater core, my YJ. So I need to pull off this box to get to it. Heater core's back here. Kind of knew I had an issue when they were starting to get water dropping down here. You can kind of see a little bit of the residue there. So had water coming off of there. Even whenever I was turning on my defrosters, I can see the moisture coming out of the vent here. So I knew it was depositing moisture on it, leaking from the heater core itself. So need to pull that out. One of the other things to look at is this cowl vent right here. Make sure that that is not clogged up before you jump into changing out the heater core. Down there at the bottom, you can see the little fitting there. It can get clogged up with dirt and grime and everything else and cause it to overflow into this area. So make sure you're not changing out a heater core just because that tube is clogged. But yep, we'll start disconnecting all this and get to it. So I'm going to start with disconnecting everything underneath the hood. There's a total of 4 bolts. There's one right there, or studs rather. One right there. One way back there. And then the last one is underneath here, a little bit more difficult to get to. Let's get this out of the way. That tube's got to go away anyways. But then there's one right there in front of the wrench, underneath that wire. 7/16. Pull those free. And that's what holds the heater box to the firewall. So I've got those pretty much worked free. While I'm in here, I'm going to go ahead and disconnect these 2 hoses. These are going directly into the heater core itself. While you're under here, don't forget there is one wire for the blower motor. Take that spade terminal off, it's got to go. So that last bolt's gone, little drain port's gone, blower motor's disconnected. Now you can see tubes are disconnected. I just laid them up here for the time being. Didn't lose a whole lot of fluid, so that's good. And now it's, like I said, it's just resting on those studs. Now I need to disconnect everything on the inside. Alright, next up we're going to take off the linkages. So I'm going to pop this wire free. There we go. This one didn't have the lock washer on it, so I made that quick. Snap that back into place. Your Jeep may be missing parts, keep that in mind. And then this has a couple finger tabs on the back. Probably worked pretty good if it had some needle nose, but see the little finger tabs, you depress both of those and it comes out of that. So that one's free. There's going to be one more over here. We'll do that whenever we get the box out a little bit more. And now I need to do this one behind this rat's nest of wire nuts. So kind of the same thing. This one does have the lock washer on it, so I am going to snap the cable free if I can. That one's off. One more. Almost. Got it. And that one's already broken. So like I said, Jeep may be a little bit different. And then up here, this duct, it's got a little tab right here. Can't quite see what I'm looking at. There it is, little tab in the back. And that should pop free. So that's free now. Now you can see it's ready to fall out on its own. Oh, it did fall out on its own. Perfect. So now, put this down. Now you can see that last linkage right here. So kind of the same thing. I got the tabs on it. Remove this clip. Yeah, screwdriver worked great for this. Same thing with this one. So let me go grab that for a sec. Got that side. On that side. and we're free. Here we are. So, need to take off all these perimeter screws, get that out. I'm going to replace this blower motor. Well, actually, I'm upgrading this blower motor because, hey, while I'm at it, can't just leave it alone as stock, so I'm going to upgrade to the Blazer motor. Here's the part number for that. Got it off Amazon, 35578. And then if you're curious about the heat exchanger, my heater core, there's the model, part number for it, 94733. Also got another gasket for it, Rugged Ridge, I believe this one's where it came from, 17908. So, let's take these off. I'm going to take off the blower housing first here. So 5/16. Blower motor worked fine and everything, but like I said, it's an upgrade. Get a little bit more airflow out of it. We know if you got a YJ, you need as much airflow as you can get, especially when you got all those leaves in there. Let's get those out. Looks like that's going to be the heater core itself, those. So I'm going to go ahead and take that out while I get the 5/16 on it. Switch over to 1/4 inch. I'll take out all the perimeter. See what we got hiding behind here. I suspect this has already been opened before. That sealant's been pulled free. My heater core. You can see the discoloration. It's been leaking for a little while. A little bit different, which I've heard. Actually, this one doesn't even have that plate. It might just be resting in there. I sprayed this out a little bit. I think I found out why this has been open before. Looks like somebody's replaced those rivets with some bolts. So I'm gonna leave those there. They're obviously working. That rust is holding it good. So let's put the new core in it. Pop that guy in. And then whenever we put this cover back on, we need to get that tab lined up. See, that one's in. That one's in now. So that allows it to pivot back and forth. Alright, now we can shoot some screws back in. Alright, all back together. That's the new seal. That's the old seal. Big difference. I don't think this one shrank that much. So I'm gonna pop that back on here. Maybe I'll put this on the outside, but I know I'm not gonna be able to compress this against the firewall to there. So I'm gonna put the old one back on. And And then if you weren't changing out the blower motor, you bolt the old one back in. In this case, like I said, I'm upgrading, so I need to swap these out. It's like 5/16. Spacer. Pop the spacer back on. Blower wheel. New lock nut. Simple as that. So now this one, there's two little indentions right here. You can see that hole and then that hole lined up. So now I can put these back in and the blower motor is done. If it only were that easy, but now I have to do some modifications to the firewall, so that's where it's going to get a little bit more challenging. So now the dilemma is opening the firewall up to allow that motor to fit in where that one would usually have fit. This is a 3.5 inch hole saw. You can see it's on there loose. That's like the perfect size for it once it finally opens it up. So 3.5, like I said, probably a little bit too small. I'm gonna get a little bit larger. I got a 4 1/8 around, so I'm gonna use that instead. So what I've done, taking some pieces of wood because I need to use that end of the pilot bit to find center, and of course with this hole being here I can't do that, so I've screwed some wood to it as a backer, and then I'm going to try to cut through the center of that, use that as my pilot, and then increase that size. Okay, that was an epic failure. That did not work out for me at all. So I had trouble with the hole saw, would not cut. I even went to the home improvement store, got a fresh new bimetal hole saw blade, still would not cut. Ended up drilling and cutting that out with sheet metal. So I just hacked it up. I made room for it. Took another break, drank beer, cried to myself a little bit, and then came back and finished the job, painted it, let it sit overnight, and here I am the next day. So hole is cut, paint's dried, so it's not going to rust out. Next step is to, well, attach this cable. So remember, the black cable goes to the front over here. Blue cable will connect back into here along with your clip. Make sure you get that on there. Once that's connected, then shove this back in the opening. So keep in mind that you have your drain port down here, you got studs over there, you got a blower motor to get in, another stud up there, stud up there, opening for your heater ports, and then there's another opening way over there. So all that stuff has to line up, and I ain't gonna sugarcoat it. It is a little bit of a pain to get it all lined up, but once in there it'll finally clip, and this opening will attach to this right here. So I'm gonna take a good 20 minutes and probably maybe get another beverage and wrestle with this to get it in place. Alright, just cranked it up, no leaks, got my cables all attached. Did a little bit different here. I got a couple washers from the hardware store, put them on those 4 studs just to give it a little something to grab onto. Those nuts just seem like they're just about the same size as the opening. Got my hoses attached again. Everything underneath here is reconnected, if you can see that. Blower motor, fan, little ports, bolt back down there. filled it up with fluid, and now I'm using this funnel. Brother-in-law told me about this funnel. Helped to get a little bit more water into it, help it burp the air out of it more efficiently. So I'm gonna let it run. See some of the air bubbles coming out. That's supposed to burp it out of the system, and you just keep topping it off and cut it off when you're finished. I did put antifreeze in there, so got that, and then topped it off with water. So I've had it running for about 10 minutes. We're up to operating temp. You can see it's pushed some coolant through the system and sitting in the funnel now. Not too much more bubbles than squeezing the end of the hose trying to get all the air out of the line. So like I said, it's up to operating temp. I'm going to shut it down, let it see if it'll suck some more into it, and then take it for a test drive. But should be good to go. Checked all my connections, no leak. My blower is working, and it is kicking inside of there. I get a lot more airflow than it was before, so anxious to try that out on the road and see what kind of heat I get in airflow. Alright guys, hope you learned something. I appreciate you watching.